I've been farming essences again recently. The setup is cheap, the content is easy, and I've been making a little over a divine per map. This is a strategy that can net you anywhere from 15 to 20 divines per hour, or more, depending on if you're lucky at all or just how fast you can be. Hi, it's Lerald, and I'm going to once again talk about one of my favorite currency farming strategies in Path of Exile, Essence. But first, don't forget to like and subscribe. Alright, let's just go ahead and jump right into the strategy. I think what I like about it so much, and I think what makes it so special to me, is it's content that you can do in tier 6 maps, and you really should do in tier 6 maps. There is nothing about Essence that needs to be scaled beyond tier 6 or tier 7 maps, and that is something that I have kind of changed about this strategy from the way I'd done it previously. I am able to very effortlessly self-sustain the tier 6 and tier 7 maps. I started out by just kind of gathering up some tier 6 and tier 7 maps and then horizon orbing them to the map sets that I wanted, and started out with like a stockpile of 10 of each of them or so. And if I open up my map tab here, I have 20 promenade maps and 28 courthouse maps. So I was very much over sustaining in the span of just like a 20 map test, 10 of each, and I came out with significantly more than I had started with. Definitely doing great on that. So that was kind of the biggest inconvenience, biggest irritation of doing this as a farm strategy beforehand, and I think I've solved that. Additionally, I did try playing around with this in tier 16 maps, and I was doing it on this character. This character has killed uber bosses, it's killed tier 17 possessed bosses, and doing this in tier 16s, the essence monsters that I was fighting in those maps were not like more dangerous than uber or possessed tier 17 bosses, but they were literally harder to kill. They were just, I mean, like trying to punch through a mountain. Just absurd. So there really is no reason to do this on anything higher than a tier 6 in my mind. You can do essences in a tier 16 map, but you're not going to make any more currency out of the essences, and it's going to be a lot slower. Now, in terms of what we're creating with this strategy and what I have in my dump tab here, as you can see, it's only essences. I am only counting essences that I have farmed in this strategy. But I have farmed a lot of Chaos Orbs in the span of doing this. I farmed a ton of Orbs of Unmaking, ton of Vol Orbs, just stuff from the Lantern of Aramor, but basically all just like random junk that I didn't feel like cataloging or including, because, your results may vary. And that's an important disclaimer in this and all farm strategies. Your results may vary. It's a live service game, prices can change, there's RNG involved, you might get very lucky, you might get unlucky, you might be fast, you might be slow, everything can be a little bit variable. But in general, I feel that 15 to 20 divines per hour with this farm strategy is very reliable. And at present, even though I don't recommend it for people who are being, fast and lazy about it and want to bulk sell off their essence tabs, they are currently selling for significantly above the PoE Ninja asking price. They're selling for like 120 or 130% of that price, rather than in the past there have been some complaints that they were selling for like half price. And I really want to underpromise and overdeliver here, because this is a personal favorite farm strategy, and I don't want people to feel like they're getting burned by it. I want them to feel like they're being blessed by it. Alright, so in terms of what you're doing in this strategy, I feel like I've already said a little bit of it, but basically, we're speed running through tier 6 maps, tier 7 maps, killing all the essences along the way to the boss before killing the boss, including ones that might be around the boss or in the boss's room. We're trying to kill those before the final boss. Then we kill the final boss, take all the essences out of the map and leave and put them in our stash tabs, and get back into another one, quick as you can. So it's a pretty simple strategy, it's kill, loot the stuff, leave. Not really a lot more complexity than that, just how I like it. Now let's go ahead and jump into the setup that we're using here, and this is the Atlas passive tree that I'm going with. As you can see, no Alva included in here. This is Nico setup. We are just making our way right over through Nico. We're picking up all the Nico nodes. We're even getting the mining byproducts node, so that we're able to get a little bit of extra Azurite out of having Nico in our maps. We're getting move speed, attack, damage, a little bit of max LE res out of Pact with Energy. We are guaranteeing Nico on all of our maps. I'm not sure where it is in here, but somewhere in here it'll say 96% chance right here to contain Nico. Base percent is 8. So 104% chance he's going to be in every map. We're also blocking a lot of league mechanics for the simple reason that we just want to have our Scarabs skew towards good league mechanics like Ultimatum Scarabs, Harvest Scarabs, and then I'm taking a couple of ones that I like. Ambush Scarabs are just valuable. And then I just like to have Domination Scarabs. It's nice to have Domination Scarabs of Teachings. And then since we're doing an Essence strategy, kind of all right to have Essence Scarabs. You could drop that node since Essence Scarabs really aren't very expensive. You could come over here and take like Significant Troves, since all of the maps that we're doing are going to have 2 or 3 bosses in them kind of at minimum. So you get a little bit more Scarabs out of just like raw Scarabs out of the map, but you know, not a huge difference either way. We're also taking a lot of map nodes. We're taking Shaping the World. We're taking Shaping the Skies and Shaping the Mountains to get more maps. And then we're also coming over and taking Devout Pursuit just in case we do get any sort of good devoted modifiers. Like one of the best possible ones that we can get is chance for packs to be rare. Because of the Scarabs that we're using, that will convert some of the like rare mobs that exist in the map into essence monsters. We're also taking Crystal Lattice and Crystal Resonance and Amplified Energies and Prolific Essence. Obviously, we're taking all of the essence notables because, you know, we're doing an essence strategy. So just to run through those real quick, Prolific Essence adds an essence to your maps. Very basic. Crystal Lattice and the small passives along the way to it just make it so that your essence monsters in the maps have a chance to have more essences. Very good. Amplified Energies makes it so that one of the monsters, or I'm sorry, every essence monster in the map has at least one essence that is of the highest possible tier. That is Shrieking in yellow and red maps, and then because of the Scarabs that we're running, that will then be increased to Deafening. So for every single essence monster you have in the map, you have at least one Deafening essence, potentially more though. And then maybe the most complicated one we have is Crystal Resonance. It makes it so that when you slay imprisoned monsters, slay the essence monsters in the maps, one of the randomly chosen essence that they have on them is added to one of the map bosses that's in the map. Now this is important, and this is why we like the 2 maps that we like so much. You know, they are long, like not slow, but like they allow you to clear all of the essences on the way to the map boss, and that's good. But also, they are multiple map bosses. So the way that this works is if you have multiple map bosses, it will split them evenly among the map bosses. It doesn't duplicate them. You're not getting 2 for the price of 1 here. You're getting 1 for the price of 1, but you're not stacking infinite essences up on a single boss that then can kill you. I've seen some people recommend, I believe Volcano map is the map, if I remember correctly, because that map boss is a caster, so she doesn't benefit from a lot of the map, or from a lot of the essence modifiers, but she does benefit from some. I like just doing, as I said, Promenade and Courthouse, because I think those are pretty decent map layouts that do have a lot of monsters in them, so there's a lot of essences to be had. And then because there are 2 map bosses in Promenade and 3 in Courthouse, you're kind of splitting those essences around instead of stacking them all up on one big unkillable guy. The second part of this notable makes it so that using Remnants of Corruption on imprisoned monsters will replace all the essences with one essence that's on the imprisoned monster, and then that one essence will then be guaranteed to be thrown onto the boss. The thing with this is that it's a gamble, right? Like you could have a Deafening essence of Spite and a Wailing essence of Torment, and it's kind of like a 50-50 shot as to whether you get the good valuable one or the cheap worthless one to overwrite the other. And so I really don't play around with these at all. You can, but it is a complete gamble as to whether you should use Remnants of Corruption or not. And Remnants of Corruption are these little bad boys here. So because of this, because of what this final line says here, you're not able to interact with the purple essences, these, Scorn, Envy, Misery, and Dread. You're not able to interact with these and use Remnants of Corruption on monsters that are imprisoned by these 4 to convert them into the 4 corrupted essences. And that's okay. Like the old school way of doing essences where you do that doesn't work with this notable here. And it's fine because the way that this notable works is basically as a multiplier for, if you have 20, 25 essences in your map, you will then get another 20, 25 essences off of the map boss. So I do think it's worth it in the short term and the long term to run this and just forego corrupted essences. The best way to farm corrupted essences is really to do essence memories, Einhar memories instead. All right, now let's talk about essence scarabs. There are a lot of different types of essence scarabs. There are regular essence scarabs. There's essence scarabs of stability, which makes it so that using remnants of corruption can only upgrade or transform essences. And there's essence scarabs of adaptation, which I played around with in the last time we talked about essences. And we're not using any of these three. These essence scarabs of adaptation, you know, I think their idea here was for these to be used in tier 16. That final line in particular, increased difficulty and reward for each essence monster. Like, it's a cool concept that you would get like a big loot explosion out of the final essence monster in each map. And then, you know, the first line there kind of works like Crystal Resonance does, except it works for other essence monsters. You kill one, it'll go onto another essence monster. Kind of a cool concept. Ultimately, I found it playing around with them that the last couple of essence monsters were so beefy, it really wound up taking a lot longer to kill them. And, you know, like, initially I had liked that in the Toxic Rain Pathfinder setup that I played around with this on like over a month ago, but in coming back to it now, I felt that it just slowed me down in the current build and didn't really feel like the reward was worth the extra time spent. So what we're using is Essence Scarabs of Calcification. These are the most expensive by far. They're like 10 chaos a piece. I was able to buy a lot of these for about 12 for a divine. Divines are going for about 120, 125 chaos at the moment. So consistently around 10 chaos for these. And then we're also running an Essence Scarab of Ascent. That'll make all the essences be a tier higher. So you'll have guaranteed deafening essence on every single monster in the map. And, you know, you're getting basically every single rare that is a natural inhabitant of the area is imprisoned by an essence due to the Essence Scarab of Calcification. So in the past, we've used Alva because the monsters, the rare monsters that would be in Alva's incursions would count. That was changed to no longer work about 3 weeks ago or so, like since the last video we did talking about essences. That strategy was killed, and that's okay. Alva kind of takes a while, so I think that just going this route, not bothering with Alva, and just zooming through the maps is very consistent, and I'm honestly happier with it than like spending the time on Alva and maybe you make a really valuable temple and that's like pretty good money, or maybe you make a crap one and then it was kind of a waste of time. Like, better to just be super consistent and super fast all the time. And then finally, we are really adding a lot of fuel onto the fire of the Essence Scarab of Calcification by using Scarabs of Adversaries. This adds 4 additional packs with mirrored rare monsters. Now the rares are mirrored, so there are 2 of them in each pack. So for each of these 2 Scarabs, you get 8 additional rares, and those are all also turned into essences. So for 2 Scarabs, that's 8 times 2, 16 extra rares guaranteed. And then a map can have anywhere from like, I don't know, 8 to 20 rares in it. So you're getting somewhere around 20 to 30 rares per map, I would say. I think that's pretty normal. In some of the maps, as I mentioned earlier, in some of the maps where you get the Lantern of Aramor bonus, that gives monster packs a chance to be upgraded to rare, that number can go up pretty considerably. I've had well over 30 packs be rare. Let's just see if I can get lucky on one here. No, not this time. But yeah, chance for pack to be rare, that's definitely one you want to put at the very top. That really increases the number of rare packs that you have in the map. And that is also something that we did in the Atlas passive tree I kind of glossed over. We took Eternal Torment here because it gives haunted pack leaders a chance, increased chance to be rare. Not super high, but just the fact that you can get more rares in the map, I do think it is worth that bit of points, because there aren't really that many other great spots to spend points throughout the tree. You know, we're taking all the Scarab nodes, we're taking the map nodes, we're taking the Nico stuff and the Essence stuff, and then beyond that, there's really not that much else to take that wouldn't just slow you down and not really add that much currency. I did play around with doing Bestiary, since in the same point in time where they nerfed Alva, they also added Einhar's beasts being able to be essences again. Like, that was a bug that was plaguing the interaction between essence and beast in the first month or so of the league. I'm glad that that's fixed, but in playing around with it, I found that, you know, as I think everybody kind of knows, the combination of like a red beast and essence makes those monsters insanely tanky, and so sometimes you can get some good value out of them, but not always, and they take a really long time to die. And then once they have been captured by Nico or by Einhar, they take a while to actually drop the essences. So I just generally found that they were pretty slow and kind of not worth the time investment. You can do it, you know, maybe you'll get some Crykic Chimerals. Those are worth somewhere between like 1.5 to 2 divines each. So there's potential there, but I think generally speaking, again, not a super consistent, great strategy. I think really just going with calcification, ascent, 2 adversaries, scarabs, and then using Nico as your master of choice, and then just basically ignoring any master stuff that pops up and just speed clearing through the maps, zapping all the essences, zapping the map boss, and, you know, repeating is really the approach. All right, so like I have said, I have made about a divine per map. In this strategy, I'll hit refresh on my dump tab here just to make sure that the price hasn't suddenly fluctuated wildly. Yeah, right at, you know, this is a 20 map test. I made right around 20 divines, and just to show that tab off again, you know, it's all essences other than this one Empower support gem that I got. I also did get a lot of chaos and orbs of unmaking and vol orbs and you know, other stuff that I didn't bother to include. Tons of scarabs, obviously, that I didn't bother to include. And I just made a little spreadsheet tab here out of that. And, you know, I think I'm pretty happy with the approach here. I think, you know, ultimately the time you spend in each map is going to determine the profitability per hour, but like the rate of return is pretty high. You know, if it's 2.5 minutes, you're going to be over 20 divines per hour. If it's more like 3 minutes a map, maybe less. If it's like 3.5, you're going to be pushing around 15 divines per hour. In any case, I think these are, you know, this is all pretty good. I am counting the cost of the maps as 0 because they're self-farmed. They're tier 6 and tier 7 maps. There's not anything special about those. And then the calcifications and the ascent and the adversaries are all 1 chaos each. Map device essence, that's 3 chaos. So, you know, about 16 chaos per map, and we're making over 100 chaos per map in profit. Feeling pretty good about that. All right, so now, how do you sell the currency? There are really 2 ways. You know, you can just bulk sell on like a Discord like TFT or some sort of, you know, I know there are a lot of bulk selling tools that are rising up to rival that, and you can certainly use one of those. That can be fine. I think especially right now, things are selling above their PoE Ninja, their Wealthy Exile listed price. So that's a easy, quick way to get some cash out of the deal. I think the approach that I like to take is instead to, you know, make my Essence tab public, which let's go ahead and turn D&D on so I don't get bombed here. And then basically just like, you know, search the price of things in bulk. Okay, about 27 Deafening Essence of Loathing for a divine. So you would list those as basically 1 divided by the number of how many you're trying to sell for a divine. So for the high value essences like Loathing, Zeal, Scorn, you can sell those for divines. I think that's the best approach. For some of the lower value essences, things like Hatred, I prefer to go more in this approach where, okay, it seems like Deafening Essence of Hatred sell for somewhere between 2 and 3 chaos each. So instead of saying like 3 chaos, I think you're better off saying like 27 divided by 9. So that's still 3 chaos each, but people have to buy them in sets of 9, essentially. And, you know, maybe if you want to be a little squirrely about it, you could do like 26 divided by 9 or 25 divided by 9. And that will make things move a little quicker. And, you know, you're only losing out on like 1 or 2 chaos here and there. So I think that is ultimately the best approach for selling this over using like bulk selling or anything like that. Additionally, upgrading everything to Deafening is the approach. The only essences that I don't do that for are Zeal, because Shrieking Essences of Zeal are useful for upgrading boosts to 30% increased move speed, so I still have a real use for those. Shrieking Essences of Dread and Deafening Essences of Dread, the main use for both of these is just to get that +2 to level of socketed bow gems, and then whether it's Shrieking or Deafening doesn't have any impact on any of the other mods that are rolled on that item. And you know, there's really no difference in the value between the two. So there's usually no difference in the price between the two. So you're just kind of, you know, throwing money away at a 1 to 3 rate by upgrading from Shrieking to Deafening on Dread Essences. The other one is Greed Essences. I just kind of like to leave Screaming Essences of Greed around if I level another character or something, you know, like just kind of nice to have the ability to just like slap life onto a piece of armor and very easily like get myself a little bit of gear going when I'm like transitioning a character out of just having killed Kitava and into like doing maps, being able to just throw together some very cheapo gear, and having those Screaming Essences of Greed around is nice for that. But you know, I think at this point maybe I should upgrade those. Not gonna do it, but maybe I should. But yeah, that's pretty much all that there is to it, really. There is one other thing you can do to kind of get a bit of extra value. You can take some of the low value essences like Deafening Essences of, let's look at them all here, actually. Suffering and Anguish, and there's one other that I wanted to get at, Torment. So Suffering Essence and Suffering, Anguish, and Torment are all good candidates for this. There are some others as well, but you can take them over to the Horticrafting station. You can type in Essence, and for the price of 30 blue life force per essence, you can convert them into a random different type. And, you know, we got Dex Essences, we got Sorrows, that's not too bad. We got Scorn, that's amazing. That's a huge upgrade. You know, these cheapo essences, Sufferings, these kind of things, they're maybe 1 to 2 chaos each, and they really don't move that easily. The main use that people have for them is converting them with Harvest Essence, whereas like Deafening Essence of Scorn, these sell for about 14 or so to a divine. So like that's a pretty substantial increase in value. That basically like moved those from being like 1 to 2 chaos each to like 9 to 10 chaos each. That's pretty good for 30 blue life force each. Really great way to use some blue life force. Yeah, see, again, converted them into rages, so they went from being about like 1.5 chaos each and not very easy to move to rage essences, which especially at this point in the league, and I'm actually kind of thinking about making a straight stacker as my next character. You know, these are probably more like 5-6 chaos each, so pretty good profit margins to be had there. One other thing I want to be sure to mention here is just to make sure that your loot filter is set so that it will show essences. I updated my very strict filter to not show Wailing Essences. I did think Wailing Essences were a bit of a waste of time to pick up. I made sure there weren't any in my tab kind of skewing value. Again, I found that when I had them on the loot filter, I actually had to like zone out and zone back in because my bag would be full from just one full map, and they're really not worth much at all. They're worth one, whatever it is, 27th of a Deafening Essence, so not very good. But make sure that you're showing, Shrieking, Screaming, and Deafening Essences of all flavors, and also make sure that you're running a loot filter that will show yellow tier maps, because some of the Uber Strict Plus filters will not be showing those maps, so you actually won't be able to map sustain if you're using one of those filters. All right, like I said, I've really been enjoying this strategy. It is something that I kind of like to flick into and do for a little while. Not necessarily something I want to like camp in permanently, since it is a strategy that you do in lower level maps. Oh, I guess that is one other thing I want to make sure to cover here is, since we are doing this in lower level maps, you want to make sure to take your Voidstones out. And the way you do that is really simple. You just control click them and it'll move them over here into this like little side pocket. And that'll make it so that all of your maps are, the regular base atlas. And that way you're able to farm those Courthouse and Promenade maps very, very easily. Definitely important to make sure you, 1, don't forget to do this, and 2, don't forget to put them back in once you move off of this strategy. And yeah, as I said, this is a strategy I kind of like to do for a little while, do for a couple hours, make 40, 50 divines, and then, okay, I'm going to move on to something, do something that's a little bit more challenging, do something that's just like different, just kind of a change of pace. But it's been a really, really nice, consistent, safe moneymaker. It's also been good since I have been doing some essence crafting again. It's been nice to kind of go and farm up for myself a bunch of Deafening Essences of Rage instead of having to pay through the nose for them. So I've just been really, really happy with this strategy. Definitely been nice to kind of go back and re-examine it and see, like, can I make this more efficient than it was before? And the answer is yes, thankfully, yes. So there it is. Let me know if you have any questions, and thanks for watching. Bye.